and we're going to jump in. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So I can see, I think, at least a handful of you. I don't know what it looks like on your end. So I'll try and scroll down and just check in with you as I go along. I won't be able to see the chat while I'm in this mode. So again, for the benefit of, for those who, when I wasn't recording and I went over this, we'll do a couple slides, go back to the Brady Bunch, do some brainstorming, jump back into the slides. So one of the reasons I wanted to put this together, I want to be very genuine about this. I am not a social media expert. What I'm doing is approaching all of this from the point of view of a coach, and more with an appreciation of, I know one of the things that makes social media really intimidating is it is just relentless. You know, I call it the social media beast that's just insatiable. You always have to feed it, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy to do that. So I wanted to share with everybody the system that I personally use to try and manage my energy and my time around this. And then, of course, if you wanted to get really robust with your efforts, figure out how to do ad buys or, you know, targeted audiences and things like that. I have a social media contact that I can send you to, and that's definitely their area of expertise. But at least to get you started with the habit of increasing your brand awareness and systematizing that, that's what our focus is going to be today. So that's my big disclaimer. We're going to start with some ideas, just kind of a general overview. The first one is how to repurpose content. Creating stuff from scratch can be time consuming. And what I wanted everyone to start wrapping their heads around is the fact that you probably already have more content in your arsenal than you might think. You know, some of us are very active bloggers. Alex has a ton of great blog articles that he's written, that he's very well done, sir, that he's also going to turn into a book. So that's a whole library of content that he can chunk down and repurpose for social media. Books and pamphlets. You know, Christine, I don't know if you have a cookbook in the works, or, you know, you certainly, maybe you have a compilation of anything. No? I know Sherry was going to try and join the call. She has a cookbook, and, you know, she could be drawing from that. Corporate materials, Kasha, Kidder, let me think, who else? There was one other. Some of you who are affiliated with larger organizations, they already have a marketing department that it funnels information to you. And what you can do is take excerpts of that, add your logo, your branding to it, maybe, you know, change things around so it's more in your voice, if that's something that's allowed by a compliance department. But the point is they're feeding you ideas. You don't have to try and invent this from thin air. Some of you have newsletters. Marnie just joined the call. Marnie's got a great newsletter that she sends out every month to her clients that's very content rich and has great ideas in it. Some of us have websites that there's a lot of explanations, or there's examples. Karen has a gallery of work on her website showing what she's done for every client. She could excerpt some of that, sort of describe the process. Some of us have done presentations, whether we're on podcasts, we've had speaking opportunities, we've conducted workshops. When you think over just the arc of your career and everything that you've done, if you kind of gathered your arms around that and organized it, I bet you have a lot of material to work with. So one of the things the reason I'm kind of belaboring this point a little bit is one of the things I really want you to feel more confident and comfortable around is you don't have to invent the wheel here. You've probably already built several cars, and what we're going to do is cannibalize them and turn them into social media. Okay? So be jotting down some ideas around that while we're going through these other slides. So the next thing is, how do you manage your time and therefore save your sanity when it comes to social media? So one thing that I do is I set aside the third Monday of every month, and I block it out. It usually doesn't take me the whole day, so I have some found time at the end of the day, even better, right? But on the third Monday of the month, it probably takes me 6 to 7 hours, and I will do all of my social media content for the following month. Like, it's just done, it's designed, it's scheduled, it's set it and forget it. And because I know that that day is blocked off, it's really easy for me to just sort of plug into it, get into my flow, and I'm not worrying about any other craziness or stuff floating around or anything hanging over me. I just feel very purposeful about how I'm going to spend that day. And I also know that after that day, I don't have to think about it for another 4 weeks. So that's how I personally tackle it. If you work better in, doing a couple of hours a week, you could do that. That didn't work for me because I don't protect 2 hours as well as I protect 6. So that was kind of a healthy trap that I created for myself, and it works pretty well. I'm also going to show you a couple of tools that I use because we are not all proficient graphic designers, as the lovely Karen Scott is. And so if you need something simple that's very user-friendly and drag and drop, Canva is a great tool. I'll show you that. Another tool that I use is OneUp, and that's an online media scheduler. And the reason I like that tool is because unlike Hootsuite or some of the other social media schedulers, it will post to LinkedIn and it will post to Google My Business. So I will show you both of those as we get kind of deeper into this. And I have just about, I think, 7 slides or so. All right, so.
Stephanie, I have a question.
You bet.
I'm jumping in, sorry.
Jump right in.
What if you have, is social media, do you think, a pretty good place? I have timely material right now with COVID and stuff going on. Things in my practice can change daily. Mm-hmm. So I'm using social media to post a lot of kind of my latest news.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that
you have suggestions for blocking out time when it's daily.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do, there's a handful of posts that I'll do over the course of the month that I supplement my I'm going to call them my unique posts. I will supplement with these curated posts that are really timely and topical. And my entire existence is in Google Calendar. It is the other half of my brain. And so I will just put in a couple of reminders a week to, check for timely information, what's going on, what do I need to get out to clients or make people aware of. And I'll do that a couple of times a week to supplement my unique posts. So you could get the kind of the bread and butter of what you do. You could schedule and ahead and then pepper it in. Sound good? Thumbs up? Okay.
Thumbs up.
Cool. Any other questions at this point? All righty. Good question. Thank you, Blythe.
Just a comment, both those apps are actually cheaper if you go with a yearly plan. OneUp is only $6 per month if you pay annually, and Canva is only $10 per month if you pay annually, so you can even save some money.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. I think I might I'll have to change my subscription. I think I just signed up for the monthly. Um, so, hi Kelly, welcome. With this screen, I wanted to show you kind of the first step that I take when I'm breaking information down and recycling it. Because the whole idea here is to embrace laziness like a superpower. I don't want to have to create everything from scratch, right? I want to just take something that already exists and cannibalize it. So another kind of healthy trap that I've created for myself, I am a terrible blogger. I don't have the discipline for it. I always blew off writing my articles. So what I do instead to make sure that I create content and I have a library is I do one podcast a month. And I like preparing for the podcast because I'm going to be interacting with people. It's conversational. That's fun to me. And it doesn't feel like such a chore to prepare for it. Part of my podcast, at the end of my podcast, I have a Dear Coach segment. And I'll write up, just like a page script that I'll read very conversationally during the podcast. And I use that script to feed everything else that I do in the month, promotion-wise. So this is an example of a Dear Coach script that I wrote for a recent podcast. And the average single-spaced 12-point Times New Roman font page contains about 500 words. This is 678. So what you're seeing on the screen is only like a page and a quarter of content. Remember, and I only do this one time a month, a page and a quarter of content. From this, I'll show you an example of how I break this down. So, this looks really overwhelming. How am I going to turn this into social media? Well, the magic is all I'm going to do is pull those two sentences are going to become what go into my post content. So when you're in Facebook or LinkedIn and you're typing what your post is about, this is what my post is about. It's the introduction to the idea. And then this, also just pulling a couple sentences out of that whole article, is what I'm going to use to accompany the graphic that I'm going to create. So when I go to create a unique post, the only new thing that I'm having to write is my hashtags. That's it. That's the only new content I created to create a unique post. Hashtags. This is word for word right out of my podcast script. And then to go with it, I created this graphic in Canva, and all the content here that you see is pulled directly from my script. So the only new things I wrote to create this unique post with my brand on it and helpful information to my audience, I added hashtags and I added the C behavioral type, who do you know? So hashtags and a question. That was it. Everything else recycled. So I'm going to stop sharing here. And let's go back and Brady Bunch this. So what kinds of questions or what's going through your mind up to this point? Is it?
When you're creating this content, and you're probably going to cover this later, with all the different platforms, I tend to be really lazy and I tend to post the same stuff on the same platforms, and obviously I scheduled, I could switch it up a little bit more. But what recommendations do you have as far as not posting the same thing on the same platform every day, or you think that's okay? Thoughts?
Well, there's a couple of different things. When I create posts, I will post that to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google My Business. It's the exact same post, 3 different platforms. Now, in terms of posting the same thing over and over again, I used to be a lot more concerned about not doing that because I think we're so in tune to what we do and how we do it and what we're saying, and like we're very much in our own universe. So if we repeat ourselves online, we think we're boring our audience, when the reality probably is they're not seeing that every single time, and they're not engaging with it every single time. So one of the things I'll do is kind of a combination, and I'm gonna show you guys this, is every month I pick like a theme that's based on my podcast script, right? And from that, I create my unique posts. And then what I do is I'll alternate some static posts, things that I've created before, and maybe all I'm going to do is change the color or the background to it. And it's usually some sort of a free giveaway. Like you can download my 10 secrets to transform your business. That post I'll do every single Tuesday, and maybe I'll alternate it with another static kind of promotional post. And the only thing I change is the color. The content is the same. And different people will engage with it at different times. So, you know, I have a lot less fear around being repetitive. I think also, once you get to the point where you've created a good library of content and designs, I plan on recycling that. I don't plan on creating unique posts every single month for the rest of my life. I plan on doing this for about 6 months and then like recycling it kind of in the same order, or, you know, same set of themes and whatnot, because people aren't going to see it every time. So does that answer your question, Blythe? Is that helpful?
Yes, and then you do go ahead and post the same material at the same time across the different platforms, assuming that maybe one person sees you on Facebook and one person sees you on Google and one person sees you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I looked this up, like when is the best time to post? And what I found is it's kind of the high point of viewing for most days of the week tends to be around the lunch hour, because people are checking their social media while they eat lunch. And they also check their social media in the evenings when they get home from work. Tech being such a fluid thing, I would check on those stats and kind of adjust when you're posting depending upon, you know, how your audience is changing. So I usually set my posts to go live like around 12:15, 12:30. I figure by then they're settled at their desk, they're eating their lunch, they're getting on their phone, and then, you know, my stuff is there. So that's how I do it. In OneUp, you can go in and schedule different platforms at different times if you want to, which is pretty cool. Google My Business. So the Google My Business, I actually learned from Karen, who is on the call. Google My Business is when you type in like the rising effect and my business comes up on that sidebar in Google, and it has hours of operation. If I were a restaurant, you'd be able to download a menu. It's kind of got all of the stats of the business. That's your Google My Business account. You claim it, and then you can start adding posts to that. So instead of just getting the vitals of when you're open and clicking on your website and clicking on the map to find your address, you can have promotions displayed through Google My Business. You can have your posts. There's kind of a whole drag and drop back office to it that's really user friendly. And all you have to do is connect your account to OneUp and it will post there as well. And that also helps with analytics. There's no fear subscription for Google My Business. Google My Business is free. which is awesome. And of course, because it's tied to Google, Google likes to see when you're active on it. So I don't pay for any Google advertising because I just have, for me, it doesn't make sense. I'm a small boutique business, right? So I'm not looking for volume. So for me, I'm focused on just being part of an organic search. And if you type in Business Coaches Tucson, I'm on page 1 and I'm toward the top of the page for an organic search. And I'm sure it's because, it's good, Karen? Yeah, because I'm active on Google My Business. So I try and just make Google happy. It's like my whole purpose in life is to try and make Google happy. Karen, do you want to add anything to that explanation?
No, it's also, in addition to Google, the fact that you're doing things regularly on your website regularly. Are you doing anything on your website regularly?
I put actually, that's my next slide I was going to show you. I recycle, actually, I'm going to share my screen again.
Okay.
And yes, Alex, definitely. Google My Business is free. Let me share my screen. So this, in answer to Karen's question about what I'm doing with my website, because Google also likes to see that your website is getting an addition or a change or engagement in some way at least monthly. So if you really want to turbocharge this whole recycling idea, I started with my original podcast script, right? I link that to my podcast and I recycle a graphic that I've already made for a unique post. All I do is resize it. That becomes the header. And now I have a blog article that is posted on my website. So now I've made Google happy because every single month I am adding content to my website. So that box is checked. So far now I have a podcast, I have a blog post. I now also have 8 unique social media posts that go to Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google My Business. So that also means that that's 24 opportunities for people to see my brand every single month. And all of this content, all of this came from that one article that I did for my podcast. And then, as an added bonus, since I know there are folks who do newsletters, I take that content, and this is a post that I created just to advertise that my newsletter was coming out. So this isn't the whole newsletter, so it might be a little hard to read. But this 1/3 up here, 1/3 of my newsletter is about that podcast script. I've just taken directly out of it, like highlights of questions and stuff. I drop right into the newsletter. Another section of it, this third down here, related pretty well to something that I was discussing during my podcast. I took that from a Dear Coach segment that I did last year. Didn't write a word. Sucked it right out of another script. This middle section, the +1 webinar, that's something else that I've been doing on a monthly basis just for brand awareness, and also yet another healthy trap to create content. Only now I have somebody else helping me create the content because they're narrating 3 PowerPoint slides and I'm narrating 3 PowerPoint slides. So I have twice the content now and I only had to create half of it. So this segment here, the script that I wrote for that is going to be my next Dear Coach script. So this just becomes one massive recycling system. Does this make sense? So, like Christine you've been sending out newsletters and you have a lot of announcements and photos of stuff because you're opening the bodega. Plus you have catering. You have like this sumptuous visual stuff that you can use for social media. So whatever you're writing about in your newsletter, you can extract a couple of sentences and turn that into a unique post. Take a picture of whatever you've made, pair it with 2 sentences that you've already written, you have a unique post. So I'm picking on you because I can see you. So these are the 2 programs, and I'm going to get into that and show you. And those are really the last of the slides. So I'm going to stop sharing and pop back in. So are you starting to see how you can take just one meaty chunk of an article and get as granular as you want with it? Make sense? Okay. So what I'll do, let me show you. Has anybody here, just show of hands, anyone used Canva before? Alex has used it. Marnie's used it. Okay. All right. So let me show you Canva. This is just a source of total happiness for me because it's so easy to use. All right. So when you get into Canva, this is pretty much what it looks like. It has templates. So you can go in here to social media, Instagram, Facebook, posts, Facebook covers for your page, videos. There's other templates that you can use, business cards, proposals, brochures, flyers. When I send you guys like little cards and the little postcards that I make them in Canva. And what I really like about it, I'll give you a sneak peek. Here's my library of stuff that I've created. So I'm using the same fonts for my headers and the body of text. The only thing I'm really changing is the graphic and the content. Like my logo's already there. I already have like a basic structure every time I go in to create a design. I do my Monday Mojos in this. Same structure, different content, right? So here's how you can use this. Let's say we want to do a Facebook post. And we just want to create one. You can upload things if you want to upload photos, or like I found a picture of Spock. Marnie, there you are when we were experimenting with some of your collateral. You know, for National Dog Day, I've got a picture of Lily in there. And my logo is somewhere down here. Right here. So if you click on this, boom, drops it in. Let's say I want to figure out just some really cool fonts. You can come in here, scroll down. There's a whole library of text. So if you wanted to do a happy holidays to your clients, there's happy holidays. You didn't even have to think up that pairing or try and fuss with it yourself. It's done. And then you can go to photos if you want to and type in, let's say, Christmas. Well, that's cute, right? Little gifts, happy holidays, love and kisses from the Rising Effect. You can put in a little message, but I mean, this is like how easy Canva is. It is all drag and drop. And if you don't want to go through the hassle of trying to find individual elements like this, they have templates. So you can go to templates type in Christmas. And there's something done, ready made for you. So you can customize this using drag and drop. You can go with something that's pre-made and all you have to do is type in a keyword. I pay for the pro version of this because you have access to more photography, more templates, and more fonts. It's $12.95 a month. Getting like the Adobe suite is about 5 times more expensive than that for a subscription, and it's about 1,000 times more complicated to learn. So this is just the coolest little tool I've come across in a long time. I've probably been using this for a year now and can't live without it. The other tool that I use, any questions about Canva before I move on?
Yeah, I'm assuming you can bring your own pictures into that.
Absolutely. That's where you click on uploads here. So there's a side menu here with templates like the one I just dropped in. There's just general photos. There's elements. So if you wanted to do, I just did, spoiler alert, I just did my Thanksgiving cards and I had a little leaf next to my logo. Click on that, drop that in, right? Text, then you go to uploads. So if you want to upload media, actually all you have to do, I lied. You just click on uploads and you can download a photograph. You know how it appears down at the bottom of your page, it'll show you that there's a file ready to be saved. You just click and drop that in here. It automatically uploads it and it will appear like that's how this popped up. Like I literally just dragged and dropped her photo in here before I got on this call because I was working on something for my webinar that I just did. So I downloaded Alexis's picture, clicked, popped it in here, and now if I click on that, there she is. So you can import whatever photographs you want. Claudia, you could do this with your jewelry. Kim and Lori, you could do this with houses. Marnie, you could do this with like pictures of botanicals, some of the tinctures, the foods that are part of your program. Sally could do this with construction. Sherry can do this with her product. I mean, like, it's pretty endless what you can do with this simple little program. Now,
How much is the?
Sure.
Oh, how much is the non-pro version? Do you know?
I think there might even be a free version of this. Let me see. It automatically logs me in, but let me see. Here we go. Pricing.
There is a free version.
Here we go.
Ah.
Canva free. So you're more limited with the photography that you have access to. But Christine, since you're probably going to be uploading so many of your own pictures, that's likely not as much of an issue for you. So there's even a free version.
Cool.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I have a quick question, Stephanie. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, anything you create on here, can you use it on other mediums? So if you're using MailChimp and you create an image that you want it to be consistent across your social media and say an email campaign,
That is an awesome question. Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to show you. Let me get back into my designs. So that's such a great question. I'm going to show you exactly how that works. So I created another spoiler. You're going to be seeing these cards. So I just did my little Thanksgiving cards. So it's a little postcard. This is the front and this is the back. And you can go up here. So you have 2 options here. You can download and you have the option of the kind of file that you create. So if I was to hit PNG, download. And you'll see it pop in down here at the bottom of my screen. So all of those posts that I showed you on the PowerPoint, those 8 posts that came up, I just downloaded those as PNG files. It's either PNG or JPEG, I forget what it defaults to, but I just download those and then I upload those into OneUp. So you will always have a file that you can download and then use any way you want. And you can also adjust, you'll see in here that when you pick an option like PDF, or let's see, if like JPEG, there's sizes. So depending upon if you want something to be able to load quickly onto a website versus you need really high resolution for print, it will give you the option to make that adjustment in here. Make sense?
Yes, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, isn't this a great tool?
Very cool.
Oh God, I love this. Anybody else have any questions about Canva before we move to OneUp?
I don't have a question, but I do know, I was talking to someone and they said you can create Zoom backgrounds this way too.
Can you?
Yeah, and there's some people I know that will even do like their logo and their contact info, and when you're kind of doing the green screen or the, again, depending on your computer if you need that or if you can do the other stuff, and maybe they're just taking the, flyer and posting it behind them, but
that's cool. I'll have to mess around with that. I don't know if they actually they have video here. They've got social media. I don't know if if you dug deeper into it, if they would have like a Zoom screen, or like you said, if they're just creating like a high resolution JPEG and then that's what they're dropping into the background, which is probably what they're doing.
yeah. They do have a TikTok background I see there.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm. 4th one over that you have up right now.
Oh, I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing Instagram, Facebook. They've got blogs. They've got YouTube channels, Twitter, Pinterest.
To the left, it was the 4th one over, and I think it said TikTok background.
Did it?
Mm-hmm. There you
Whoops.
go. Anyways.
Okay. So everybody getting a sense of like how versatile and easy this tool is. And thank you, Christine, for asking whether there's a free version. There is. Oh, here it is. Now I see it. Okay, so that's Canva. So once I get all of my posts done, I've broken down my content. I know what I'm feeding into social media, what I'm feeding into my graphic. Then I want to get everything uploaded. So I keep having to move us around. So I'm going to pop us down here just for a sec so I can see my whole screen. When you get into OneUp, now I've already told it the program that I selected is $12 a month. And for $12 a month, you can post across 3 platforms. They have more robust options that you can use. And so you can post more frequently, you can post across more platforms, but 3 platforms, and I think you get like 150 posts a month or something like that. Like that more than meets my needs. So I've already told it that I want to post to LinkedIn. I've told it I want it to post to Google My Business and to Facebook. So when you sign up for this, it takes you through step by step what information it needs from you in order to connect your pages. And I'm kind of a rube about that, and I could figure it out. So it can't be that complicated. So let's say I want to schedule a post. So I'm going to select all because I want it to go to all 3 of these platforms. If I didn't, I could just select whatever platforms I wanted it to go in. And then I create a description like, have you ever wanted to know your secret disc superpower? just ask something, blah, 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 right? Now I want to add an image to go with my post. So I'm going to choose a file. I've got something waiting on my desktop that I just pull over and drop. This is kind of one of those static ones that I was telling Blythe about, where I created this once and I've used it many times. I upload it. So there it is. I can tell it that I want to add that image to the photos section of Google My Business. So when people visit my photos and they're trying to get a sense of who I am and what my business is about, all my photos are there. It's not an event post, so I'm not going to check that. And what I can do is say, learn more, right? So this is through Google My Business. This isn't on Facebook or LinkedIn. This is only available through Google My Business. So you have the option of telling it, you don't have to have any button at all. You can encourage people to call you, learn more. They could book an appointment with you. They could sign up for something. They could order something, buy, get an offer. So if I wanted people to learn, let's say I wanted them to book an appointment with me. I have an online scheduler. That's a whole nother webinar. I can copy and paste the URL here, or I can just send them to my website, which I actually know the URL for that off the top of my head. So we'll use that. So learn more, go to therisingeffect.com. You can tell it to post once or repeatedly. So we're going to post once. You go to scheduling options. You want to post on a specific day. So we're going to post this today. And there you have it. Or sorry, Friday the 30th at 11:56. And if you want to see what all of your content looks like, if you just want to double check that you've got everything in place, there's a normal view where you can just scroll. I like the calendar view myself. So tomorrow, there is my post. It's going to go on LinkedIn, Google My Business, and Facebook. And that's my real post that's going out tomorrow. And then if we go to November, sneak peek, here are all of my unique posts for November. They're done. I don't have to think about anything until the 3rd week of November. I am completely set. Make sense? Miss Karen.
Is there a free version of this like there was of the other one?
Let me see. Alex, do you know if there's a free version of this? Oh, I always forget.
I'm not sure. I don't think there is.
I think this is the cheapest version. Let me take a look here. Yeah, it keeps logging me into, let me see if I can get out of my account.
Go incognito.
How do you do that?
The 3 buttons over on the right-hand side, if you just online, you can go incognito there. Now put in your, it just doesn't hold the cache, the stuff that's in your cache.
Cool. You need to be on every
Yeah,
webinar
they
with
have
me.
a 7-day free trial, but that's it. And all the other stuff you have to pay for.
Oh,
This is-
thank you. Okay. So this one at a minimum is $12 a month. Now, okay, is everybody's noodle baked, or are you ready to go into like the bonus round? I'll check in with
I'm good.
everyone. You're good? All right. So I didn't include this in, at first I had this in my presentation and I showed it to my husband and he's like, I would check in with your audience first because this is where it gets super, super detailed. I'm going to show you how I actually collect and organize my own information. before I start designing it and scheduling it. And this just makes sense to me. You can do this any way you want. You could use a spreadsheet, you could use a table, you could just pull it directly out of the article and plug it in and bypass this step. I just do it this way because I do a different kind of post each day of the week. And this just helps me see how the entire month of social media activity comes together. So here's what this looks like to me. Let's get out of this and into this. All right. So I have a spreadsheet with tabs for every month down at the bottom. And usually how I organize myself is on Mondays, I do a unique post. Tuesdays, I have some sort of a freebie. So it's either that, or either a freebie or something promotional. So that's where the whole, hey, download my 10 secrets to transforming your business. And then in the post, I'll have a link to the Google Doc so people can download it and they're getting something valuable by engaging with my post, right? Wednesdays, I usually do a Facebook Live, and kind of going back to what Blythe was saying, I use Wednesdays as an opportunity to talk about stuff that's more topical. I'm starting to see themes and conversations that I'm having with people over the course of the week, questions that they're having. So I will personally talk to people about that for, 2 or 3 minutes. My Facebook Lives are not that long. And then what I will do is, out of Facebook, you can download your video. I upload it to YouTube. Now I have a link that I can share on LinkedIn and Google My Business. So this is kind of the one thing that I do every week that isn't pre-scheduled. And then on Thursdays, I'm either talking about the podcasts that I do or the webinar that I do every month. That creates just more content for future posts. So I'm just writing these like 2 pages of content a month. And that's it. It fuels everything else. So Thursdays are podcast and webinar, talking about what's going on there, who was my guest, the kinds of things that we talked about. And then Fridays, this is another unique post. The easy thing about this is I'm still really only having to design 2 unique posts a week for Mondays and Fridays, because Tuesdays, I'm recycling something promotional. Wednesdays, I'm just talking into the camera for 2 or 3 minutes. I don't script that out. I think about the topic. Maybe on a sticky note, I'll jot down like a couple of points that I need to hit, and that's it. Then it's just a matter of downloading something spontaneous and uploading it to YouTube and sharing the links. And then Thursdays, everything's already done because I'm not creating a post. Down here you'll see there is no Canva post content because I'm just sharing the link to either my podcast or the webinar. So there's 3 days a week. I post 5 days a week. I only really have to create unique designs and content for 2 of those posts. So I do this, here's week 1, and I've got, what hashtags I want to use with each post. There's week 1, week 2, I try and say, oh, here's Veterans Day. Right? So I need a Veterans Day post. Oh, this is Thanksgiving. I need a Thanksgiving post in week 4, and then week 5 down here. So I know exactly what I'm going to post in the caption, what I'm going to use in the graphic, and then the hashtags that accompany it. All of this is only a copy and paste from source material. None of it is created from scratch. Make sense? Okay. All right, and then I promised you guys we'd stick to an hour because I didn't want to take up any more than the lunch hour. So we have a couple minutes left. Any questions? Did this make sense? Because this is the first time that I've really described this process to I mean, Alex and I have worked on this a bit together, but it's the first time I've really tried to articulate from start to finish exactly what this looks like. And I don't know if that only makes sense to me or if it makes sense to other people. So did this come out of my brain in a sensible manner?
I thought it was very helpful. I thought it made sense. I kind of got this backdoor look into how you organize some of your stuff, and I followed.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Blake.
And I have a very technologically naive question. Are the hash marks strictly a Twitter thing, or do those cross into other things?
That crosses into other platforms. So it's a way to kind of curate information around a particular topic. So regardless of what platform you use hashtags on, if you went on Google and just put hashtag Stephanie Rising or hashtag the Rising Effect, it's going to bring up all the stuff that has been tagged with that, regardless of where it came from.
So it sounds like that's a really good thing to start doing with everything, is hashtagging things so that they're easy to find. Is that
Yeah.
true?
I'm trying to be, because I'm more new to that as well. So I try and use the hashtags small business, business coaching, and Stephanie Rising, because that's like who I'm talking to, what I do, and who I am. Like, I don't
Right.
go crazy with it. I don't have like 10 hashtags. I try and keep it to 3 things. And if
Okay.
I'm interviewing someone like for my podcast or my webinar, I'll also do their name and their company name as hashtags, because then that also means that when you do things that are collaborative, you want to get in front of their audience too. Any other questions or brainstorming that you'd like to do around this?
Lots of great meat that you gave us. I feel like I want to, get out there and start exploring some of these techniques and options and tools. So really good.
Thank you. Good.
Really good.
I'm glad it was
Very
helpful.
organized.
Well, sometimes I'm kind of anal with my organization to the point where I never know if it's only going to make sense to me or if it's like other people will be able to replicate this. I don't know, as a coach, I'm all into DISC. I've done Myers-Briggs, and I am a massive J.
What is J?
Judging, like that's the, like really, really organized. Like you can't deal with chaos and not having systems. Like you have a method for everything. And that's pretty much me.
You're perfect. You're a great combination in all your letters.
Yes, a DIJ to cross my assessments. I'm glad that this was helpful. And I think the funnest part is, like you said, Kasia, to just get in there and start noodling with it. Once you start playing with the programs, they become way less intimidating. I like things as simple as possible, which is why I gravitate toward those 2 programs, because it's all drag and drop and everything is clearly named and it's intuitive. Everything does what you think it's going to do. I find it really exasperating when programs are overly complicated and you think if you click a button or you do something intuitively and nothing works. So I've found this to be a pretty seamless process. And the thing that takes me the most time is just breaking everything down in an order that I want and then doing the design. And usually it takes me 6 or 7 hours, and I'm going to attribute a solid hour of that to the fact that I tend to do all of this while I'm watching a movie. So there is a certain level of distraction involved, I will confess that. But I've done this down and dirty in 6 hours and gotten it all done. So that's all I have for you today.
Thank you so
really
much.
appreciate you being on the call. If you have any thoughts, any questions, if you get stuck, you want to do some brainstorming around how to set up your first month, just let me know. I'm happy to help.
Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.